Matthew chapter 16, verse 24 to 26 says, Then Jesus said to his disciples, Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross. For whoever tries to save their life will lose it, and whoever loses their lives for their sake will find it. When Jesus tells us to take up our cross, it's the most difficult thing he can ask us to do. And what does taking up your cross mean? Taking up your cross means denying yourself, taking the old version of ourselves, the false self, nailing him to a cross and crucifying him and putting forth the true self, right? And what is the false self and the true self? The false self is the identity we've created for ourselves based on our experiences in this world and what people have told us to believe about ourselves, right? Is that person that believes, in order to be successful, I need to have this many Lamborghinis, I need to have a beautiful wife, or I need to be popular, all of these things. The person who believes, I need to be beautiful in order to be loved. Or people who react to certain traumas that they've had in this life, or just the narcissistic behavior that is encouraged in this world. I need to have this many likes. If I have clout, I'm cool. If I have clout, I'm worth something. Or if I do this, I'm worth something. If I don't do this, or if I don't have this, then I'm worth nothing. If people don't think I'm cool, people don't respect me, then I don't have any value. That is the false self. The true self is the self that was created in God's image. The self that knows that their value isn't dependent on what other people say. It isn't dependent on what this world has said. You look at the way the world. Let's use men for example, right? Like, what is a valuable man? Let's call it this way, right? Like the Red Pill likes to talk about high value men, right? Like what does the world say is a man of value? A man who's worth something. A man who's just incredible, right? He's got to be tall. Bonus points if he's an athlete. He's got to have a lot of status. He's got to be rich. He's got to be handsome. Those are the men who are treated like, wow, what a specimen, right? Those are the men who are treated to have the most value. The true self that was created in God's image has value simply because they were created in God's image. Whether or not they're tall, they're short, whether or not they have all this clout, or whether they're handsome, or again, another popular thing in the world is how many girls you can get, right? Like something like that. That's the false self. The false self is what the world tells us. The true self is who Jesus says we are, and our value is in the fact that we're created in His image. And success in the kingdom, which is another important thing for us to note. There is all these barometers that I just listed for what success is in the world, what a successful man in the world looks like. But who does God say a successful man is? A successful... Ooh, I'm going to try that again. A successful man is a man who is obedient to God. Success in the kingdom of God is obedience. Let's look at King David, right? One of the best characters, one of the most popular characters in the Bible. Let's put it that way. My favorite character in the Bible, right? Everyone looks at King David and you're like, oh wow, he was described as a man after God's own heart, and that's why he was blessed with so many things. But why was he described as a man after God's own heart? Because everything the Lord told him to do, he did. That's it. That's literally it, right? That's success in God's kingdom. Everything God told David to do, he did. And that's why he was described as a man after God's own heart. And that is what the true self is versus the false self, right? And that command that Jesus gives us to take up our own cross, and we must take it up daily, is it's so difficult, because think of people who have some kind of trauma and they decide, I want to go to therapy, right? And because this is really affecting my life, it's messing up my relationships, it's messing up my ability to move up in my career. They go to therapy because they realize that there's an issue here that is holding me back, and it's not allowing me to experience life to the fullest, and I can't deal with this anymore. I need all of this help. Taking up our cross is literally, you can call it the Christian version of doing that, but that's what we're doing, right? You have to unlearn everything you've been programmed to know in this world, right? All these things I listed earlier. Like, you look at a lot of guys, right? I'll use myself as an example, right? I've grown up I'm a young man that's grown up in the 21st century, right? So I'm gonna have, let's say, in the 2010s, especially with the TikTok in the late 2010s. We grew up in this culture that's very man hating, right? Like radical feminism, hating men, and obviously that makes you feel some kind of way. Now, unfortunately for me, I was never really I'll use the derogatory term, I was never really a soy boy. I was never going to believe that crap. I'd see that stuff and I'd be like, this is crap. But then what happens is you have the overcorrection of that, right? Which you'd look at Andrew Tate in like 2022. For me, it was like 2021 when I really started getting into like just like self-improvement in general, which is a good thing to get into self-improvement. But then obviously when the self-improvement hype came, Red Pill came in and hijacked that. And then Andrew Tate came in 2022 and just rode that wave. Like that wave just went really high, right? So now what is the manosphere teaching us? What is the manosphere and like your Andrew Tate's teaching us? They're teaching us you're not going to be a man of value in this world unless you have a lot of money, you know, unless you take care of yourself and you look and you make yourself like as handsome as you can be, and you know, you have your mafia, like you're hard, you know, you can fight. Like again, if you need to go do jiu-jitsu and like you need to be able to fight. You need to be able to be in a fist fight. You need to be able to stand up to all of this crap and all of that. And again, that was the thing with him, is that there was like some truth in like a lot of things he was saying. But again, something people say about him that I think is incredible, I think it nails it perfectly, is that he got like the diagnosis right, but the prognosis wrong. The diagnosis was obviously, you know, looking at just how the world like treats men in general, and it's like, you know, if you don't take care of yourself, no one's going to take care of you. That was the diagnosis, right? We have a masculinity crisis, let's call it that. But his prognosis was, okay, in order to be more masculine, you need to go and like get as rich as you can, you know, get as many supercars as you can, you know, get as jacked as you can, get as many women as you can. And then it's like, okay, now you're just off the rails, right? So those are things we've been taught, right? So we grow up in a world where me as a young man, you know, I'm being taught by the feminist culture, you know, that, you know, I should be very, very feminine and everything about being a man is toxic. And then you look at like the last couple of years, you get your manosphere and like the Andrew Tate's coming up telling you that, no, you should go and like go get as rich as you can, get as jacked as you can, sleep with as many women as you can, and, you know, that's how you can live a good life. And then obviously after I never really like got too deep into that. I kind of like the truth aspect that he spoke about, but genuinely I didn't get too deep into that. But now I've been getting closer with God, and obviously now that I'm closer with God, I'm not listening to anything he has to say. But again, that to round up the story, the point I was trying to make is that we've learned all these things that now we need to unlearn, right? And that's what crucifying the old self is. Crucifying the old self is deprogramming everything I've learned from, you know, the feminist culture telling me I'm toxic, to, you know, the Andrew Tates and the Red Pill manosphere busy telling us what makes a true like high value man, you know, what makes a man valuable. Unlearning all of that and going and reading what does Jesus say about me? What do the Gospels say about me? What does God say about me? What does God say makes a proper man, right? Like what does he say about that? That's what crucifying yourself is, and it's so difficult. It really is difficult, because for people, I use the therapy example, and there are people who are in therapy until they die. There are people who are in therapy until they die, and I'm not going to get too much into therapy. I don't even know what I think about therapy, to be honest, but I'm using it as an analogy. Like, there are people who are in therapy because that's just how difficult it is to just deprogram a lot of the things you learn. It's really difficult, and that's how difficult taking up your cross is. But thanks be to God. With God, anything is possible, right? That's what Jesus said. So I think it's important for us to know that that is a very difficult verse to follow. Just to cut a long story short, taking up your cross is really difficult, but we have to do it. That's what Jesus commands us to do. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think of the topic in the comment section below. Make sure you're subscribed, join the community, and until next time, see you guys.